What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Nolan TCG, and we are back here today for a post-ban list profile for Paleozoic Frogs. So with my boy Totally Awesome finally coming to 3 now, we can finally enjoy this deck at its full power, unless there was a way for this to give us Olenoidis as a super, at which point this deck would be at full power. That is the only way for this deck to enter full power, is for 3 super rare Olenoidis in the next tournament pack to be in this deck. That is the only way you can make this better. But before you get started into the deck profile, as always, please remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people. And let's get on into the deck profile. Okay, so starting us off, we've got, of course, 3 copies of the Ultimate Rare Swap Frog. I'm so happy that I can finally own 3 of these cards after all of these years. I've been stuck on one for like 2 years now, and now we have the 2 more to finish the set, and it's beautiful. Then we've got 2 copies of Dupe Frog. Sorry, 3 copies of Dupe Frog. Why would you play 2 copies of Dupe Frog in this list? It's just so good. Professor Frog grants you plays when he is attacked, but he misses timing in almost every other situation, so resolving Dupe Frog is never going to happen. But when Professor Frog grants you plays, he grants you plays. Then after that, we've got 2 copies of Totally Awesome. Just your standard recursion. Banish out the level 2s from your graveyard, or the other frogs from your graveyard to be clear. And then you can summon back your Ronin Toad and keep playing, do more plays. Now, next off, we have the best thing about Totally Awesome coming to 3, and that is that we can now play 3 copies of Extrav in this list. You never needed the 3 Toad to play because it can recur itself. You needed the ability, though, to play something like an Extrav so that things like Trap Trick are a whole lot better, because you're not having to play 3 copies of everything that's good. You can now, there is so much more room in this deck just because you're playing Extrav. Because you don't need to play 3 copies of important things. You don't need to play stuff that like keeps you going in a grind game. You can just play 3 copies of Extrav and not worry about banishing the 10 cards. Next off, we've got our Paleo Traps. So that is it for the spells. We've got 3 copies of Candina for the flip. 3 copies of Dynamiscus for the banish. And then 3 copies of Coleman Olenoidis, because Konami doesn't know what they're doing and doesn't print this as a super. So yeah, that's it for our Paleo lineup. We're not playing the other options that you can play, simply because now that you don't have to play Desires, you're not worrying about like running out in the resource game and needing those Paleo Traps to like recur things back from banished and then prop off in grave. You can now just worry about like, these are your Paleo Traps, you've got your Frog lineup, you're not going to banish a bunch of them and then like stress about your resource game. You can just play the way you want to play. Also a part of that, we now have 3 copies of Trap Trick. You don't need to play 3 copies of everything good anymore. So now you can just play your trap tricks freely and not have to worry about having banished 2 copies of a certain trap and then you don't have access to it off your trap trick. Trap trick, so much better now that you can play Extrav at 3. Then we've got the one, I guess, hand trap for the deck, and that is 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. It does not round out the main deck here because there are better things that can round out the main deck. But your 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence are super important. It is your like first turn disruption if you're going second. In the new meta, hopefully, like, combo is, like, dead, essentially. So we're not going to see, like, a whole bunch of it. It is going to be much more control-heavy. So something like Impermanence should be all you need going second, in this matchup. You can just, your opponent playing Virtual World, they decide to set up a Pop and a UCT. Oh, no, not a UCT, sorry. VFD. They set up a Pop VFD, you're just like, okay, cool. You either set 5, or if you want to combo off, Impermanence on your turn, start playing. Away you go. Then we've got 3 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison following that up. Just such a good card. You're playing a trap heavy deck anyway. This is one of the best traps in the game right now. So you just need to main deck 3 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison in any Paleo list. It's just stupid not to be playing it. It's one of the best cards in the format. Then after that, we've got 3 copies of Solemn Judgment, as apparently my speaker system turns off for some reason. But yeah, we've got 3 copies of Solemn Judgment here. Again, very, very good trap. You'd be stupid not to be main decking it. Then next off, we have the first of our 2-ofs. So now we're playing a bunch of flex 2-of spots. So there's like 8 spots, in this deck for cards that you could be playing. So first off, we're playing 2 copies of Solemn Strike. Then after that, we're testing out 2 copies of the new trap card Warning Point. Simply because, like, anchoring down something can be pretty big right now. And it is just summoned. It's not special summoned, like, no material. So it drops on board. Say they summon their Alistair. You hit it. They summon a Thoroughblade. You hit it. They summon anything good to do with Virtual World that's going to keep them comboing. You hit it, and you just pin it on board, make sure they can't use it, preferably the tuner in that situation. Then we've got 2 copies of Crackdown following that up. Negation and a Steal is always good. Then we've got 2 copies of Heavy Storm Duster to round out the main deck. Next off, we get into the extra, and of course, the glorious 3 copies of Totally Awesome. The only sad part is this one is on limb. I could not find my 3rd First Ed, and then I went looking for one at shops and couldn't find any First Ed Totally Awesomes at the stores. So, sadly, we have 2 First Ed Toads and the Unlim Toad. Very sad. I really, really want a 3rd First Ed Toad. Then next off, we've got 2 copies of Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. Because you are playing the X-Drive build, you kind of need to play 2 copies of the important XIZ cards. So, yeah, starting off, we've got that 2 AA Zeus. Then we've got 2 copies of Paleozoic Opabenia. I would normally actually play 3 of this in a Paleo list, but space gets a little tight in this extra deck, given some of the options that we are playing in our side deck. So 2 copies of Opabenia is all we could really fit in. Then we've got 2 copies of Unknown Lucaris as well. This gives you like tempo if you're like well ahead and allows you to push through for games, so really, really solid card. Then the card we typically will use to get into our AA Zeus, and that is Skycav, simply because it can't be destroyed by battle. Also gets you that like non-targeting, no, sorry, it is targeted removal, isn't it? Battles and opponents once you can attach one extra material. It does not target. For some reason I thought Skycav targeted. But non-targeted bounce can get you through Dragoon in that situation. Then also gets you into your AA Zeus that can prop once because you still have the 2 materials under, or you have the 1 material and then the Skycav, which gives you the 2 materials under the Zeus. Then we've got 1 copy of Cat Shark and 1 copy of Phantom Knights of Cursed Javelin to round out the Xyzs in the lineup. Your Cat Shark just gets them big when you're trying to push for big damage or you need to attack over a Dragoon. And then you've got the Cursed Javelin just because it can cheese games. Then, next off, because we are going to be side decking Waking the Dragon, just because of how backer heavy removal stuff is at the moment with Harpies and things, we are playing 2 targets. So it's 1 Last Warrior from Another Planet and 1 Dragoon. So now the reason why we're not just playing 2 Dragoon here is because in the instance where, say you have access to 2 Waking the Dragons, be that through 1 Trap Trick and you have 1 set, you can like chain block, so you can summon the Dragoon, then the Last Warrior, and then they're like locked out of summoning, and then you also have the Dragoon negate. Just be warned that you can't do it the other way around, because the Last Warrior will negate the summon of your Dragoon. But that wraps us up here for the deck profile for this one. So, as always, if you do have any comments below, or like any recommendations, that you would change to this deck, please remember to comment that down below, because we're always happy to take in input. I said it earlier, but please remember to hit the subscribe button as well, if we are new here. And I'm just stumbling over my words at this point, apparently, because I've been Ben from Nolan TCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.